The research that you and I are about to share is in reference or regard to dark tea. Now, this is more than just basically tea mitigating the chances of developing diabetes. This is actually kind of interesting on how dark tea may operate. There's a few different varieties of dark tea, but still just the same. What they discovered was this. People with diabetes, or maybe prone to diabetes, tend to have an enhanced ability to reabsorb glucose, resulting in higher blood sugar levels. Yes, we're not looking at basically consumption of sugars per se. We're looking at the inability to basically excrete that glucose and henceforth being reabsorbed, i.e., higher blood sugars. Dark tea may have an incredible ability I should say, until future research is also done to validate, of helping preventing that renal glucose reabsorption. So preventing the kidneys from reabsorbing that glucose. It basically is helping normalize blood sugar levels, i.e., ergo, therefore, basically resulting in a reduced risk of diabetes. So it's pretty cool in reference to dark tea. So keep in mind, this was an observational study. And also, too, the caveat, something to keep in mind, we are looking at the frequency of dark tea being drunk, or people drinking dark tea on a weekly, monthly, daily basis, in this case, daily basis, as opposed to the number of cups drunk per day, or as opposed to people that never drink dark tea at all. So without further ado, let us get into this because this is actually kind of cool in regard to how dark tea may operate. To proceed, drinking dark tea every day may help control blood sugar to reduce diabetes risk. The study by researchers from the University of Adelaide in Australia and Southeast University in China found that compared with never tea drinkers, daily consumers, those referred to either never, occasionally, often, and every day, of dark tea, ready for this? Now, there was reduction in all tea drinkers, but dark tea was just extraordinary. It took it all home. Had a 53% lower risk for prediabetes and a 47% reduced risk for type 2 diabetes, even after taking into account established risk factors known to drive the risk of diabetes: age, gender, ethnicity, body mass index. You get the picture in the average arterial blood pressure, fasting plasma glucose, alcohol intake, smoking status, family history of diabetes, and regular exercise. So it took in all those lifestyle factors and still, yet, developed, or the outcome was, in reference to observation, a 53% lower risk of pre-diabetes and a 47% risk of type 2 diabetes. Now, the hypothesis in reference to how dark tea may do its magic. To proceed, people with diabetes often have enhanced capacity for renal glucose reabsorption. So the kidneys retrieve more glucose, preventing it from being excreted in urine, which contributes to higher blood sugar. These findings suggest that the actions of bioactive compounds in dark tea may directly or indirectly modulate glucose excretion in the kidneys and affect to some extent mimicking that of sodium glucose cotransporter 2 inhibitors, a new anti-diabetic drug class that is not only effective at preventing and treating type 2 diabetes, but also has a substantial protective effect on the heart and kidneys. So, interesting in reference to dark tea and new drug discovery that really is kind of intriguing how they may parallel each other. Now, the difference in the teas. I am going to refer to another study which actually was released on September 7th of 2023, so about a week prior. But it gives a good explanation of some of the dark tea differences, which is important for us to share together. Possible mechanisms of dark tea in cancer prevention and management, a comprehensive review. I'm going to read the excerpt, and then we're going to go back to basically the tea and diabetes study. Tea can be divided into green tea, black tea, oolong tea, white tea, yellow tea, and dark tea according to different degrees of fermentation. Dark tea belongs to post-fermented tea. According to the origins, processing technologies, and different fermentation strains, there are several types of dark tea in China. Mainly, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce out of respect. but you can see the types of tea. It goes as follows. Different dark teas are different in appearance, aroma, and content of active ingredients. For example, Pu'er tea has a higher content of catechin and flavonoid glycosides, while Pu'er tea has a higher content of catechin derivatives, flavonoids, and alkaloids. Studies have confirmed that dark tea has a high potential for anti-cancer activity for human health and is recommended as a nutritional supplement for the prevention and management of cancer. That is an excerpt from that particular study there. Now back to a diabetes study. Dark tea, I mean, you look at it and go, whoa, where's this dark tea been? To proceed, methods. Keep in mind, this is frequency of consumption on a daily basis, not the quantity. So I'm not going to have the information 2 cups, 3 cups, 4 cups, just that it was consumed on a daily basis or partially or not consumed at all. The latest cross-sectional study included 1,923 adults. Gives you the breakdown, the genders, living in the community across 8 provinces in China. In total, 436 participants were living with diabetes, and 352 had prediabetes, and 1,135 had normal blood glucose levels. Participants included both non-habitual drinkers and those with a history of drinking only a single type of tea. They were asked about frequency, as we covered, and type of tea consumption. Now let's go to conclusion, because the observational study pretty much says it all right from the beginning, but let us proceed, because as well, the results were so astounding that you really need some validation, and now you'd like to see some clinical trials so you and I could find out 1 glass, 2 glasses, 3 glasses, how many glasses of tea do you drink per day to get these wonderful results. To proceed, despite the promising findings, the authors caution that within the observational study, the findings cannot prove that drinking tea every day improves blood sugar control by increasing urinary glucose excretion and reducing insulin resistance, but suggest they are likely to contribute. Correlation is not causation. Keep in mind. They are currently conducting a double-blind randomized trial to investigate the benefits of dark tea on blood glucose, meaning no one knows who's taking what, in people living with type 2 diabetes to validate their findings. In addition, they cannot rule out the possibility of residual confounding by lifestyle factors and physiological factors may have affected the results. That's why I'm really careful how I parse my words, because I myself can basically introduce publisher bias, which I don't want to do, because this is actually a pretty cool study, and introduced, in my opinion, really does no service to the great research that was provided to us from these individuals themselves. Again, it is just incredible. Can you imagine if you have dark tea showing that promising effect in helping basically inhibit that renal glucose reabsorption and help normalizing blood sugars in such an incredible, eloquent manner? How many people can be helped? I think we go through the video 1,157 we did. How many people actually could be helped if this research actually takes hold? But in this case, simple, easy method in reference to basically frequency, just a consumption of a certain amount of dark tea, but just on a daily basis, resulted in a pretty amazing outcome outside of potentially also helping control blood sugars, which even if it doesn't impact diabetes, has other potentially detrimental effects, which again, that's adding publisher bias, which I do not want to do out of disrespect for the great research provided to us by these individuals here. Again, gratitude, as always, to the researchers. I am humbled you watch, and let's look forward to see what you and I share next week. Catch you next time. Bye.